Hello, I'm Harriet Tubman. I am an African American woman and a former slave who have worked really hard to help many slaves, including African American women and children and even the disabled, to escape through the Underground Railroad to freedom. And I'd like to introduce to you one of my very good friends, Mr. Frederick Douglass.
Hi, I'm Frederick Douglass. I was a slave too, and I worked really hard to try to escape from slavery, and it was not very easy. When I was a slave, I was not allowed to read or to write, and even when people had tried to teach me how to read and write, they would face many punishments.
And also when African Americans were slaves, when they struggled to work hard in labor or in plantations, they were whipped and beaten.
And also, when there was slavery that happened, it made me very sad to see how many African American families were split up, when many slave masters would sell them to other people and break the families apart.
It made me sad too.
Well, I want to say that I'm very proud on how we both had worked hard to advocate for the end of slavery.
And also equal rights for African American people too.
And also for them to have the right to vote without any forms of discrimination. I very am appreciative of President Abraham Lincoln for him having the courage to stand up to his own party, the GOP,
And also the Southern Democrats too.
who wanted to continue to have slavery.
And also to promote discrimination against African Americans.
Yes, it made me sad too. But I really want to say that February is Black History Month.
It's a very good holiday too.
We need to talk about why Black History Month is very important. The reason why I strongly believe that Black History Month is very important is to recognize how many African American individuals had worked hard to overcome many barriers or challenges where they faced discrimination based on the color of their skin, or even if they dealt with hard times of trying to escape from slavery.
Too many times in our history, in the past and currently, is that many people continue to ignore African American rights and want to promote more discrimination and to use bigotry and hate.
But not only that, but Black History Month should also be allowed to highlight the culture, the music, and the folktale stories that share how many African Americans had tried to learn or to work hard to overcome the struggles too. So Harriet, would you like to say something else too?
Well, I would like to say that it makes me really, really sad watching how many people continue to deny that slavery existed. It also makes me sad too when many people blame African Americans for problems that they didn't cause. It also makes me very, very sad to see how many people want to use hate against minorities and people with disabilities too.
It makes me sad to see what is going on these days. But I really want to tell you is that we both believe that we need to make sure that Black History Month is a good month for the need to recognize how many African American individuals, whether the arts,
Entertainment,
or even when they're just famous African Americans who work really hard to try to help make a world a better place without discrimination,
without hate.
or even to expand on social justice causes too.
We also need to take the time to think about why Black Lives Matter is important too. Because Black Lives Matter is very important to stop the racial injustice.
Yes, too many times African Americans face racial injustice in the past and currently through our criminal justice system, which is very broken. And it makes me very sad too.
It breaks my heart too when people say Black Lives Matter isn't important.
Well, I would say not only Black Lives Matter is important too, but we need criminal justice reform to not only help minorities and African Americans, but to also help people with disabilities too.
Because too many people with disabilities are disenfranchised too.
But we also want to talk about why we strongly believe that we need more African Americans in public service, whether it's through Congress or the state or the local, but also in our court system too.
We definitely need to have them to start being supportive of civil rights, including people with disability rights, and even to advocate against racial injustice.
It makes me sad too many times how many people who are in politics too are like to promote racism or even to then defend some people who are very bigots in this country who want to promote bigotry against African Americans.
Or it makes me sad too when African Americans don't want to be appreciative of how many people want to work hard to fight for civil rights, disability rights, including ending racial injustice too,
And even helping the poor.
and along with advocating for good policies like healthcare reform.
Yes, and I agree with you, Harriet, on that, Harriet Tubman. But also, I was very excited to hear that we had our first African American president, Barack Obama.
And also the First Lady, African American lady too, Michelle Obama.
Yes, it made me so happy in my mind, including myself, along with you, Harriet. You were very happy to hear that we had the first African American First Lady, Michelle Obama, too.
I like Michelle Obama too. She was kind, compassionate, and she really cared about people who are poor, disadvantaged, and African Americans too, and also people with disabilities too.
And I really like Barack Obama, too. He was a good speaker, but he also cared about people the same thing as you had talked about, how he really cared about people with disabilities, want to help the poor, the minorities, and even African Americans who had struggled during the economy problems, or rather they struggled through getting health care, and also other criminal justice reform too. Well, I will also want to say that this month should also be about to recognize Black Rosie the Riveter.
I like Black Rosie the Riveter too. I like how Black Rosie the Riveter was a good role model for many African American women who had worked really, really hard during World War II to build World War II machines or other supplies when they dealt with discrimination based on the color of the skin.
I agree with you that too. And also, I'm very appreciative of how MLK Jr.,
And also Rosa Parks
MLK,
and many other civil rights leaders who have worked really, really hard to try to advocate for the need for the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
and even to have more voting rights to protect people from voting oppression based on the color of your skin or whether you're a different gender or with a disability.
It made me so happy to see that MLK Jr. and Rosa Parks and many civil rights leaders had worked really hard because many of them faced the same struggles like we both did in the past where we dealt with discrimination based on the color of our skin.
And even many African Americans could not even have a voice to be heard. I think that Mr. Lincoln would be really impressed to see how much MLK Jr., Rosa Parks,
And even how he was happy to hear that Barack Obama tried to follow Mr. Abraham Lincoln's vision of wanting to make our country better without discrimination,
or hate,
and even to try to promote good social justice causes too,
and criminal justice reform.
and also better health care reform too.
I hope that we can always remember that we don't want to go back to the country where we had more hate, more bigotry,
Or even to the past where we could not even have good access to health care or civil rights, or even to have good ideas to fix our criminal justice system too.
and I want to encourage everybody to continue to learn history.
And also to appreciate many African American individuals who are trying to advocate for good policies on social justice, civil rights, including people with disability rights, or other poverty issues.
And also, we want to encourage many African American individuals to also please be kind and considerate to many other minorities or people with disabilities who are struggling right now, and to have them stand up against Many politicians who want to use bigotry and hate against minorities, especially African Americans, or if they want to disenfranchise many African Americans from voting,
or even to make it harder for African Americans, minorities, and people with disabilities to get good care through healthcare reform, or to not have discrimination too.
Yes, I hope that you take the time to listen to us and to remember, please continue to fight for our country and to even advocate for good common sense ideas because we cannot go backwards.
And also to please take the time to appreciate how many African Americans have worked really, really, really hard to make our society a better place. Even though it still is a long struggle, but we must not continue to give up.
And we must not give up on remembering African American history, the culture, the arts,
and diversity too.
Thank you for listening to us.
And thank you for taking the time to listen to me.